Welcome to Module 5 of the Big Picture Marketing Strategy. And in this module, we are going to dive into the belief system, especially this issue of the value proposition. And I got to warn you, this module is difficult. It's probably the most abstract, and it also happens to be the most important. And we'll get into the reasons why, but know for now that what we're going to do is get into this issue of what really drives customer behavior. What belief system do they have in their head that starts to impact how they buy things? That's what good marketers do. We figure that out, and then we develop what's called the value proposition. The value proposition is the claim, the thing that you say to the customer as though they were sitting right in front of you. You look at them and you explain to them why they need to see your product as important. You got to raise the importance of your product and then raise the belief that your product is better. That's what good marketers do. The value proposition is probably the single most important idea in marketing. I consider it the most important skill of a great marketer. Great marketers just do this so well. And this should be a personal goal of yours to really master this part of marketing. Think of the value proposition as the tip of the spear, right? It's what you're going to the market to compete with and convince the customer to see things your way. Now, when you create a value proposition, funny thing about customers, you better give them the evidence so they can believe you, the reasons to believe that your proposition is true. And I'll explain more about that later. So let's go through the steps that you would normally take. These are the steps I would take with a client, for example, a consulting engagement, what you're going to have to think about when you work on your group project. Here's the set of steps that we follow. The first thing we try to do is discover those beliefs. What are those beliefs that drive a choice? Customers buy products for many reasons. You have to discover which of them they are, and you have to pick one that becomes that tip of the spear, the one that you can drive the most, tied to your core competence. And then you evaluate those and essentially choose one to become your main benefit, your positioning benefit. Then you do what we call writing a target audience persona, which I'm not going to cover in this lecture. But then we're going to focus most of the time now on developing the value proposition and the proof, the reasons to believe. That's the most important thing I want you to get away with in this lecture and in this entire module. So let's get into it. First of all, how do you discover beliefs that drive brand choice? Well, in your book, you're going to read about two tools that we use quite commonly out in the field. And you should know about those as well and read about those in your text. One is called customer journey mapping, which we've discussed to some degree. Customer journey is the experience that customers have when they buy your product. Remember, customers don't just buy a product or use a product. There's a whole sequence of events that go into that experience. In the customer journey, if we map out step by step, what we find is that at each step, something is going on in their mind in terms of something they're seeking, and it changes as they go from step to step. So in customer journey mapping, we get down to the nitty-gritty details of what's going on in that customer's mind to really understand where we want to focus and what benefit do we pull out of that and make into our value proposition. The other tool you see here is called the Feature Benefit Value Ladder. We use this tool to take a product or service, any product or service, and we unpack it. Think of it as we unpack it and break it into its features, its benefits, and ultimately the value that it delivers to customers. And this is another tool to help us just see, what potential benefits are there that we want to make important and drive perception to create customers, create growth in our business. So I won't get into these in great detail. Again, you can read about them. We'll read about them in your text. Let's focus now on what I want to get into which is developing the value proposition, the single most important tool in all of marketing. Let's understand, first of all, what it is this. It's that single-minded promise that the brand makes to its target audience to determine how they're going to perceive that FE, that brand. Remember, FE stands for fundamental entity, just a sort of an internal way to think about our brand. And what's important is that it's a valuable and relevant benefit, the main or dynamic benefit of that we've selected, that the FE establishes as synonymous with its brand name. In other words, we are making the customer believe that this brand is associated with this promise and this benefit, that this all goes together. Customers won't know otherwise. They can't read your mind. So we explain it to them with a value proposition, or sometimes you'll hear the term consumer proposition. It all means the same thing. Single-minded claim. In medical devices, we use the term claim, but it doesn't matter what category you're in. If it's in toy making or car making or banking, it doesn't matter. It's that claim that you make that causes the customer to now believe what you want them to believe. Marketing is changing beliefs, and this is the main belief system that we're going to change. Let's look at the tool now that we use to get the job done. It's a tool that we call the 6-box positioning tool. Don't confuse it with the 6 B's. It just happens to be six boxes. Now, you may work in a company that uses a different framework. Procter & Gamble, for example, uses a slightly different framework than this. They don't use the 6-box tool. But whether you use this positioning tool or that tool, it doesn't matter. It's all designed around the same thing. We happen to like this one for a lot of reasons, and this is the one you're going to learn in this course. But know that throughout your career, you're going to encounter different ones. That's not a problem. Each box plays an important role in the conveying what this proposition is all about. So let's go through the boxes one at a time. And the order I'm going to do these is important. So take note of how I go into this. This is the way you want to do it too. The first box you complete in the 6-box positioning tool is called the current do. What is the customer currently doing with respect to your brand or the category? Now, here's a tip. Think back to what strategic quadrant you're operating in. Because if you're focusing on quadrant 1, for example, then the current do should exactly match that quadrant 1 activity. Okay, so what does that mean? It means this. If you're focused on quadrant 1, the current do should say what? I don't consume the category because I'm not aware of it, or because whatever the reason is, they don't currently consume the category. If you're in quadrant 2 of the big picture, then I would expect this to say, the current do would say, I already consume this brand for these reasons, or for at this amount. If you're in quadrant 3, it should say, I consume multiple brands, right? Multi-brand customer. And if you're in quadrant 4, it should say, I consume this competitive brand. All right, so current do, and on your final exam and in your group project, this is the first thing I'm going to look at when I evaluate this. Is your current do actually matched to the strategy quadrant that you've selected at this point? If it's disconnected, you have an ineffective tool. You're not really synced up with your value proposition and your 4-box go-to-market strategy. All right, so the next quadrant, given the current do, what is the current belief inside the customer's head to make them do the current do? All right, so belief about what? Belief about the benefit that you've identified as the tip of your spear, right? That single-minded benefit that you're trying to claim is important, or that you deliver it in a superior way. It's the insight that the customer has So let's give an example. If I said to you that this can of sparkling water, it's in quadrant 1, and we would say, I don't consume sparkling water, then the current belief may be, I believe that sparkling water is no better than regular water, or I am unaware that there is such a thing as sparkling water. In other words, what's inside their head, their belief tied to this product to make them do what they're currently doing. It should be addressing that benefit. The benefit's not important to me, or I'm not aware of it. I don't perceive it as being something of value. Okay, once you get the current do and the current belief set, then you switch over to the other side of the 6-box tool to write the desired do. What is it you want the customer to do? What realistic future behavior do you want them to do? And in marketing, we can get our customers, we can think of lots of things we'd like a customer to do. Buy our product, recommend our product, visit this website, click here, watch this video, visit the store, invite one of our sales reps in. There's a lot, come in for a test drive. There's a lot of different things. It doesn't have to be desire, do, go right to buying the product. It could be something intervening, something that's important for you to achieve. And it's tied to your goal. It should be something you're trying to achieve as part of your overall financial goal in the business. Now, just like the current belief is what drives the current do, the desired belief is what you want them to now believe to sort of resolve the issue and get into the desired do. What do they now believe in a powerful way that causes this behavior change? So it's not just some trivial thing. They really see this as, I really believe that sparkling water is better for my health, better for my intestinal functioning, or whatever it is that people believe now that you get to manage. Well, guess what goes in the middle? If you've created these 4 outside boxes, now we get to the 5th, the most important box, which is the customer proposition, the so-called claim that is built around that benefit that you've selected, right? The tip of the spear. I call it, or planting your flag. This is what we're going to be about. That we make no apologies for it. And this is the compelling statement that you make of why you should win in the market, why customers need to be loyal to you. It's an argument. It's a claim. And it's got to be compelling. And you do it in a compelling way that is supported by the 6th box called the reasons to believe, RTBs, or sometimes you'll hear the term proof points, right? They're prioritized proof of the positioning benefit. And it gives them a variety of ways to understand it. It could be performance data. It could be testimonials. It could be a video that they see to see something work, a product sample. Whatever it is, customers will believe you to a point, and then they want to see proof, depending on the involvement necessary. Okay, let's look at an example of this now. If we were to look at an example from Peloton. And I've used Peloton various times in the modules so far, so I hope you're somewhat familiar with it. And if you're not, you probably ought to stop at this point and just look up Peloton online to see what this product is. It's a pretty cool product. It's getting a lot of competition right now. And it's an interesting battle that's being fought in the market in the category of home health systems, home socialized health systems. Social meaning that it's participative, right? It's not a solo event. You participate with others. You're networked with other Peloton customers. All right, how would it work for Peloton? Well, so the current do is I work out at a local boutique fitness studio. Okay, so that's the current do. So right away that tells me that it's not quadrant 2, so they're not a Peloton customer. They could be multi-brand, doesn't sound like it. It could be quadrant 1 depending on how we define the category. Let's keep going. And if we look at the current belief, I crave the accomplishment of working out, but accessing my preferred classes and instructors is a pain. Okay, so this is a person that likes to work out and likes to have access to their trainers and classes, but it's difficult. They have to do it on a schedule. And so the desired belief now, get out of the way here, is that they'll go to a store and try out Peloton or go to a friend's house and try it out. And the new belief is there may be a way for me to conveniently become the best version of myself, right? Which is really what Peloton's claim is. As you see here, Peloton brings an immersive boutique fitness experience to your home so you can conveniently become the best version of yourself. That's what it's all about. They want to immerse you into a setting that is competitive with others, is social with others. It's a totally unique experience, even better than the sort of solo performance you get at a gym in a lot of cases, unless you're in a class. But what are the reasons to believe this? Is this really a valid claim that they make? Well, they have lots of data to show you. They show it on commercials. They show people using it on TV. See a Peloton commercial, and you'll see examples of hip and cool people, families and business people, and even during the holidays, they showed Scrooge himself was now using Peloton because Scrooge doesn't want to be Scrooge anymore. He wants to be healthy and connected to the world. So it is a powerful claim and an effective claim. Peloton's doing well, but it's all supported with this very tight, single-minded idea called the value proposition. And what is clever about the 5-box, or now the 6-box tool, we call it the 6-box tool, is that it's dynamic in nature, meaning you see from the current belief over here, the current belief now becomes the desired belief. You see sort of this transition from current state to desired state. And we like that aspect of it. It makes it a more useful tool. You, as the marketer, you really understand down to this finite level what you're trying to do in the customer's head to create the market outcome that you want. You want to create a new customer, right? You either want to get them into this category or get them away from other alternatives like the boutique gym or some of the competitive sets that are out there. Okay, so here is the blank tool. You'll have access to this during the course. This will be expected of you both on the final exam and in your group project. So you're going to want to practice this. This is one thing that I grade carefully to make sure you're on it, to give you feedback on it where appropriate. And the way you do it, the order of how you do it, it's important. You start with current do. And the current do must be matched to the quadrant. Which of the 4 quadrants? Make sure it's linked. Then the current belief. Then go down to the desired do, and then up to the desired belief, then over to the consumer proposition. And when you get that, then fill out the reasons to believe, outlined in red here, the proof points that make your case, whether data, product features, customer testimonials, key opinion leaders, KOLs, influencers that can make the point for you. So, here's a nice example. This is a medical device example. And I like this example because it really lays out in detail all the different aspects of the type of evidence you might look for with hard evidence, social evidence. Sometimes we look for even soft evidence. An example of Scrooge during the holidays using Peloton, right? That's a drama that's not really true. Scrooge is a make-believe character, but it's effective, right? So sometimes we use storytelling, fantasies, things like that. You see a lot of that in commercials, but use this chart as a nice way to guide you on the different ways to get content, evidence, and sources of reasons to believe your claim. Your claim is only as good as the evidence it's founded on, and it's only good as the core competence. Tie this back now to early in the course, we looked at the core competence. Do you have the core competence to deliver this type of evidence? That's where core competence and the choice of positioning strategy really manifests itself. It's right here on this page. So this chart gives some thoughts about what it is you drive home depending on the quadrant you're in. If you're in quadrant 1, new category customers, they need to see that it's important. They don't care what the brands are. They're not going to consume any brand unless they see the category is important. So you drive importance up. But over in quadrant 2 with your existing customers, it's reminding them of the importance, but it's really continuing to remind them of the perception of your brand, the value of your brand compared to others. Keep them retained, keep them happy. Down in quadrant 3, you need to show both the importance and the perception of your differentiating benefit, why your benefit is more important than their benefit. And if you both have the same benefit, why your delivery of that benefit is better than the delivery of their delivery of that benefit. It's a battle. It's a fist fight. It's a street fight, so to speak, down in quadrant 3. But there you have to really hit it hard. And of course, over in quadrant 4 is where you really get into a street fight. And these are competitive customers. You really have to show them that your brand, what benefit you deliver is more important, or that you deliver on a benefit better than their current brand is doing. Get them to switch, get them to try your product. That's a real battle as well. So this is a nice way to sort of summarize this idea of positioning and the belief focus that we put into it. Importance it's a different language that we use with importance. Here we're looking at the customer and saying, it's important that you drink sparkling water because it'll make you digest your food better. It's important that you digest your food better. So I want you to hear the language and think about when you watch commercials or you see billboards or anything. I want you to think about what is really being emphasized here, the importance or the perception. And the importance could be importance not just to them, but importance to things that are happening in the world. It's important to be environmentally conscious. It's important to help these associations. It's important to be good to your kids. Whatever it is, it's important. And perception now is a different language. You use different words. It's a different argument. How well the customer perceives brands. And you're giving them the specific way to look at this versus that. This tastes better than this brand over here. Or this has more sparkling content than this does. It's making them in a concrete way, very specific way, get your point. Customers can't read your mind. If you don't explain it to them, they'll make it up on their own and they may get it wrong. So don't leave it to chance. Be very hyper-focused, clear in your positioning, whether you're driving importance or perception. All right, that's it for this module. This is a tough one. This is the one you want to get right because so much is at stake in the positioning claim. Next, we're going to focus then on the behaviors that you're going to drive through the 4 Ps of marketing. What are the things you can do now to execute and create and articulate what your positioning has been all about?